A very good evening to all of you. Thank you for joining us for this weekly media briefing. Of course, in the last few weeks, we've been more focused on the daily presser that we did on Ukraine, but we are back to our regular events. Happy to see all of you in person here with the restrictions on COVID having been lifted. Before I begin, on the question part, we have a couple of announcements. So let me begin with the announcements. The first announcement relates to the forthcoming India-Japan summit, which will be held on March 19th, day after tomorrow, at the invitation of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi. The Prime Minister of Japan, His Excellency Mr. Kishida Fumio, will be undertaking an official visit to New Delhi from 19th to 20th March for the 14th India-Japan Annual Summit. This summit will actually be the first meeting of these two leaders. As you would recall, the previous annual summits until then, took place in Tokyo in October 2018. India and Japan have multifaceted cooperation within the ambit of their special strategic and global partnership. The summit will provide an opportunity for both sides to review and strengthen the bilateral cooperation in diverse areas, as well as exchange views on regional and global issues of mutual interest, so as to advance the partnership for peace, stability, and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific region and beyond. So we look forward to welcoming Prime Minister Kishida on Saturday. My other announcement that we have is on the India-Australia Virtual Summit that is going to be held on March 21, Monday. Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi and Prime Minister of Australia, His Excellency Mr. Scott Morrison, will hold the second India-Australia Virtual Summit on 21st March. This summit actually follows the historic first virtual summit, which was held on 4th of June 2020, when our bilateral relationship was elevated to a comprehensive strategic partnership. During this forthcoming virtual summit, the leaders will take stock of progress made on various initiatives under the comprehensive strategic partnership. The virtual summit will lay the way forward on new initiatives and enhanced cooperation in a diverse range of sectors. The leaders are expected to commit to closer cooperation in trade, critical minerals, migration and mobility, and education, among others. Views on, of course, regional and international issues will also be discussed. And I think this summit highlights the importance that both countries attach to their bilateral relations, as well as their close cooperation on global and regional issues. The India-Australia Comprehensive Strategic Partnership has maintained the momentum of an upward trajectory, with both countries continuing to collaborate closely despite the COVID-19 pandemic in areas such as science and technology, cyber defense, critical and strategic minerals, water resources management, as well as public administration and governance. Prime Minister Modi, of course, met Prime Minister Morrison in Washington for their first in-person meeting after the COVID-19 pandemic. This meeting was last September on the margins of the Quad Leader Summit, and they jointly launched the Infrastructure for Resilient Island States in Glasgow subsequently on the margins of the COP26 in November 2021. So again, we expect this to be a very fruitful and important virtual summit. We will, of course, try to brief you on the developments, as well as you know, share with you other details of the events. Okay, having said that, let me open the floor for questions. Let me start off. Okay, first, here, please. I see lots of hands, but let me start with you. Please introduce yourself and organization for the record.
Vineet Dixit from Newsgate.
Yes, of
course. There's a news in the air that Chinese foreign minister is scheduled to visit India. If he's coming, what are the dates and what is his agenda? Is the failed talks of the LAC will be figuring in that?
Why do I have the strange feeling that a lot of questions will be on this? So all those on this, please raise your hands and use up your question slot on this. Anybody else on this specific thing? On visit?
On China, basically.
Okay, please, one second. Please, microphone.
So a lot of Indian students are facing problems when it comes to, they want to go to China. They are not able to go to China. I know that our embassy in Beijing have been engaging. What's the status like? Will China allow Indian students to go to China and complete their studies.
Okay. Anything left on this? Okay, please.
सर, चीन की तरफ से क्या उनके विदेश मंत्री के भारत दौरे का प्रस्ताव आया है कि नहीं?
Okay, so let me just answer this set of things. I have a very short answer on this. I don't have any information to share on this at this moment. Let me repeat that. I don't have any information to share on this at this moment. But Siddhant, you asked additional element on that. I do would like to emphasize. Look, our embassy in Beijing, our consulates, our ministry has been taking up this matter with the relevant authorities in China on numerous occasions since the restrictions were first imposed, as you yourself alluded to. We have highlighted the plight of the students and how the continuation of these stringent restrictions were putting their academic careers, education careers of thousands of students in jeopardy. In fact, External Affairs Minister personally raised this issue with State Councillor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi when he met him in Dushanbe in September last year. We have noted the statement made by the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson, I think it was on 8th of February, when in response to a query from the Indian media, he said that China is considering in a coordinated manner arrangement for allowing foreign students to return to China for their studies. You, of course, would have also seen the more recent statement of the Chinese spokesperson. I think that was on 14th of March, where in response to another query from the Indian media, it was said that they take into consideration the developments in the pandemic situation and the features of the different majors of international students, and they were coordinating for the return of a few international students who do have such needs. But let me clarify that till date, the Chinese side has not given any categorical response about the return of Indian students. We will continue to urge the Chinese side to adopt a congenial stance in the interest of our students, and that they facilitate an early return to China so that our students can pursue their studies. So I think that issue will be on our agenda on all occasions. Okay. नीरज, आपका सवाल था क्या प्रस्ताव आया है? आई थिंक मेरा पहला स्टेटमेंट में ही क्लैरिटी हो गई कि मेरे पास अभी कुछ नहीं है जो आपको मैं शेयर कर सकता हूँ. ओके, प्लीज लेट्स मूविंग ऑन अदर टॉपिक्स प्लीज. सॉरी, related question. Okay, hold on, I'll come to you guys. Sorry, on the microphone.
My question is regarding that there are reports in Western media that China is helping Russia with arms. How do we view India this development?
I apologize, but I don't think it's related. But since you asked that question, I don't know how we would be in a position to comment. It's a media report about certain things being done by two other countries. I certainly don't think I have an immediate comment on that. Please, let's have the questions. Yeah, please. Okay.
This is Yeshi Seli from the New Indian Express. From March 27th, we are opening all international airlines. Every scheduled carrier can come into India. But there is a little concern, with the surge of COVID in Hong Kong, South Korea, and 16 districts of China. Are you looking at restricting passengers because we're just about getting into the endemic stage? I'd just like your views on that.
Restricting passengers? Sorry, my cell phones please off.
No, would you, try and restrict passengers from these three countries in particular, because there's a surge in COVID. Even if one guy comes, it can, lead to the same situation that we had last year.
Anything related to this? I'll take it in one go. No. Okay. Look, first of all, I don't think the Ministry of External Affairs is perhaps the best place to answer all the nuance of this question. Let me just try to answer it in two different elements. As you know, we have been trying, because of the restrictions since almost 2 years plus now, of having air bubbles and Vande Bharat flights, etc., to ensure that the restrictions due to COVID can be overcome. I think taking into consideration the declining status of cases, I think the Ministry of Civil Aviation has announced that from 27th of March we will resume regular commercial international operations. Separate issue is about restrictions, or what are the restrictions of people from abroad when they come. There are certain procedures in place. Again, I think the Health Ministry and the Civil Aviation Ministry would be better placed. We cannot foresee or speculate on what might happen. I think decisions would be taken based on circumstances at that point when it happens. So I think we've always been based on fact impact and what's happening and developments that these decisions have been taken. Possible. It could happen in other countries, and we have had to change our guidance and instructions on foreign travel depending on what the reality is. Of course, our interest is to be able to get back to normalcy as soon as possible, subject to this health and COVID and other restrictions on that. So we will keep you updated if we hear of anything, but the nodal ministries in this would be civil aviation and health, of course. Ma'am, you go.
Hi, Regini from BBC News. I've tried to get a comment from the Petroleum Ministry to no avail. I just wanted to get something from you on the multiple reports that India is buying crude oil from Russia at a discounted rate. There's reports that a deal's been done with Indian Oil and Hindustan Petrol Corporation, and that India's going to do a deal of some 15 million barrels. So what do you have on the latest around these reports?
Anybody else on that? Okay, please.
इसको लेकर अभी
आप इंट्रोड्यूस
इसको लेकर अभी स्टेटमेंट अमेरिका की तरफ से भी आया था कि ये देखना होगा भारत को कि वो हिस्ट्री जब लिखी जाएगी वो किस तरफ होगा. इस स्टेटमेंट को आप कैसे देखते हैं, इस पर क्या रिएक्शन आपका?
Anyone else on that? Okay, if sorry, can't see you from here.
Tawqir Hussain from Yamuri. Has India actually received any offer from Russia in this regard?
Okay, you have a question on this? Please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Vedika from CNN. My question is India considering rupee payments for trade with Russia? Thank you.
Okay, let me try to answer, I think, slightly different issues. Look, as you are all aware, India does import most of its oil requirements. So it's met by imports. So we are always exploring all possibilities in global energy markets because of this situation that we face of importing our oil requirement. I don't think Russia has been a major supplier. But as regards the specific query, I think it was the implicit in both of them, of imports of energy from Russia. Let me just highlight that a number of countries are doing so, especially in Europe. And for the moment, I'll leave it at that. As I said, a number of countries in the kind of world are doing so, especially in Europe. As I said, we are always exploring possibilities in global energy markets. As I said, that's what I broadly have to say, which is to say that we are a major oil importer and we are looking at all options at all points. We need the energy. But specifically, I think one of the queries was, शैलेंद्र आपने पूछा था, पर वो US के बारे में था. अभी मैंने जैसे कहा कि हमारी ज़रूरतें रहती हैं, हम इंपोर्टिंग कंट्री हैं, और रूस से तेल या गैस वगैरह की इंपोर्ट्स के बारे में मैंने जैसा कहा कि हम जानते हैं कि काफ़ी देश उनसे ले रही हैं, आयात हो रही है वहाँ से, तो इसीलिए हम उससे यूरोप की कंट्रियाँ, मैं सिर्फ इतना ही कहना चाहूँगा. As regards, as I said, I think, Tawqir, your question was on the offer was the same thing. I don't have exact details. To be honest, this is an area where I would ideally refer you to the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas for any details that you are asking about exactly whether there's been an offer or what we are doing, or Vedika's question on, I think, how much. Sorry, I have no idea. As I said, details of that will probably be available with that ministry. From our perspective, as I think highlighted our position regarding the rupee, mechanism. Look, as you are aware, in the past we've had with Soviet Union certainly, perhaps a little later even with Russia, that system of a mechanism of rupee ruble. I am not aware of it. What exactly is the current status of it? It would probably be with the Ministry of Finance or RBI that would be the leading that. But let me make a larger point, which I've been repeatedly saying, which is that we will await details of any unilateral sanctions, the exact details to examine their impact on our economic exchanges with Russia. So I think we have been saying let's see exactly what are the sanctions, how they impact before we look at what are the options. Yes, I've seen a lot of people mentioning the rupee ruble option again, or reviving it, or it exists. I know that mechanism exists, but I don't know what extent will be used now or whether it's even feasible. So that's not something that I have an immediate response on. Okay, moving ahead. Sorry, एक मिनट. Related है या और कोई topic पे? Another topic? Let me start with them. Okay. Shrinja, go ahead.
Sir, times now. Sir, there's been a lot of criticism of India also in Pakistan on this Kashmir files issue. You would have seen volumes of material criticizing India, per se. How do you react to it?
I don't react to it. It's a movie made. People are free to comment on it, I guess. I think it shows developments in our country that happened over a certain point of time. I'm not even sure it's a foreign policy issue on which I need to really comment on. Pakistan makes various allegations which have almost all occasions are either not correct or completely unfounded or as interference in our internal affairs. I haven't seen the specific comments that you made, so I'm not going to comment on that. Ji, related question, please.
सर
आपका दूसरा क्वेश्चन हो गया पर रिलेटेड है आगे जी
सर अभी जो इस्लामाबाद में ओआईसी की मीटिंग होने वाली है फॉरेन मिनिस्टर्स की, उसके लिए फिर से एक बार हुर्रियत लीडर मिर्वाइज उमर फारूक को इनवाइट किया गया है। हालांकि वो भी हाउस अरेस्ट में हैं, लेकिन उनके इस इनविटेशन को आप कैसे देखते हैं? पाकिस्तान की तरफ से एक बार फिर से हुर्रियत लीडर्स को इनवाइट किया जा रहा है।
ये 22-23 मार्च वाली मीटिंग की बात कर रहे हैं आप? देखिए, इसमें हमने देखा है कि इसके बारे में हमें पता चला है कि विदेश मंत्रियों का जो परिषद की बैठक है उसमें ऑल पार्टी हुर्रियत कॉन्फ्रेंस के अध्यक्ष के दिए गए निमंत्रण के बारे में मीडिया रिपोर्ट्स हमने जो देखी हैं, आप उसी के बारे में जिक्र कर रहे हैं। भारत सरकार ऐसी कार्रवाई को बहुत गंभीरता से लेती है जिनका उद्देश्य सीधे तौर पर भारत की एकता को नष्ट करना और हमारी संप्रभुता और क्षेत्रीय अखंडता का उल्लंघन करती है। हम उम्मीद नहीं करते कि ओआईसी आतंकवाद और भारत विरोधी गतिविधियों में लगे देशों और संगठनों के प्रोत्साहन करेगा। हमें उम्मीद यही रहती है कि वो नहीं करेगा इस तरह से प्रोत्साहन। ये बहुत दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है कि ओआईसी अन्य महत्वपूर्ण विकास गतिविधियों पर ध्यान केंद्रित करने के बजाय एक ही सदस्य को राजनीतिक एजेंडा द्वारा निर्देशित किया जा रहा है। हम ये पहले भी कह चुके हैं। हमने बार बार ओआईसी से भारत के आंतरिक मामलों पर टिप्पणी के लिए वेस्टेड इंटरेस्ट को अपने मंच पर फायदा उठाने की अनुमति देने से बचने का आह्वान भी किया है। मैं फिर से इसी को दोहरा सकता हूँ। He asked in Hindi, so okay, maybe make it right simpler. We have seen in India media reports regarding invitation extended to the OIC Secretary by the OIC Secretary General to, I think, the Chairman All Party Hurriyat Conference to attend the forthcoming, I think, 48th session of the OIC Council of Foreign Ministers in Islamabad on 22nd, 23rd of March. The government of India takes very serious view of such actions, which are aimed directly at subverting India's unity and violating our sovereignty and territorial integrity. We do not expect the OIC to encourage actors and organizations engaged in terrorism and anti-India activities. It's highly unfortunate the OIC continues to be guided by a single member's political agenda rather than focusing on other important development activities. We have repeatedly called upon the OIC to refrain from allowing vested interests to exploit its platform for comments on India's internal affairs. Okay. Next. Yeah, please. One second. Let me start with the hand raised.
Sir, we've seen reports that at the International Court of Justice, Justice Ranveer Bhandari, an Indian judge, has voted against Russia. And while we recognize that, of course, the judge is supposed to deliver a verdict independently, but in this case, the Russian and the Chinese judges have dissented, and that echoes their national positions. Whereas in our case, we have been abstaining and from doing the voting, and the judge has voted in favor of against Russia. So, what is does he reflect? What are your views?
I'm not sure what the question is as yet.
No.
You give me the background. I'm aware of it. What's the question?
The question is, does the government of India have any views on the fact that the Indian judge has
voted them a particular way
against Russia? I mean, this is not an official position, I gather.
My short answer is no. Look, I do not wish to get into a situation where I'm commenting on how judges on the ICJ should be voting. They vote. I think they're on the individual capacities and they vote as they, on the merits of that. I don't think, so I have some concerns on all three statements that you made, but I limit myself to this. I don't want to comment on how judges, I think that's appropriate for us to comment on how judges on the ICJ vote. Second, you said our position is abstention. No, I think that's a very, very loose comment, which I just wanted to confirm. We look at, we have abstained in voting on a certain resolutions in certain organizations based on the text that is on the table. Our position has been clarified on various occasions through explanation of vote, which highlight various aspects. These are very nuanced issues, and I don't wish to accept that argument. And on the specific thing of the ICJ, I think they work in their individual capacities. I'm not going to comment on whether the Russian citizen judge or the Chinese citizen judge voted one way or the other. Okay. Yeah, before that, please. Related to this? Okay, then finish with the related.
Thank you. So,
no, hold on. She said related issue. Can you? I'll come
mine
back.
also related.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, the OIC one.
Will you introduce yourself before so the record?
The New Indians Iron. Yeah. The New Indians Iron.
Okay.
The OIC question, I would like to take from the flow. Bangladesh once actually encouraged India to be a member of India, having its a considerable Muslim population, which I suppose India is also leveraging its Muslim population, second largest. Do we have any kind of official invitation from any other OIC state? This is my first question. Second is from the last interaction with you, sir. There's a serious issue with the SWIFT code and the banking system. Russia is actually hammered by a couple of European actors as well. So are we getting any kind of appealing from China for using its CIPS system? Thank you, sir.
May I start with a comment for, please do sit down. We follow a practice of one question for each person. However, since the first time you're asking me in a formal capacity, please, you've taken two. Look, on the OIC part, I'm not sure I got your question. I'm not aware of any invitation for this. Simple. As I said, history we can look at. I'm not aware of any immediate thing. On the SWIFT, I'm again not aware of any such request. Your specific question was, has China requested something? The other is a commentary. I'm not aware of any specific request of that nature. Any more? Microphone here.
Nanima from the print. Related to Srigar's question, what is the, on the ICJ,
okay.
What does it, the signal does it give out on India's position? I mean, we take one stance in UN, then, Justice Bhandari is seen as India's judge. I mean, I know what you said, but...
If you, either you know what I said or you want to repeat it, I'm happy to repeat it since you asked the floor. So, he is India's judge is, I think, a loose use of the words in English. I think we should stay, he happens to be an Indian national who is a member in his individual capacity on the International Court of Justice. And let me repeat again, I'm not going to comment on how judges vote on issues that come to the ICJ. Our position, on the other hand, we have been repeatedly saying how we were looking at the entire issue. And that is, I think, by now pretty clear. So let me move on. Yeah, anybody else? Okay, please.
Thank you. Rajesh Mishra from Kantipur and the Kathmandu Post. Sir, my question is about India-Sri Lanka cooperation.
Sri Lanka?
Sri Lanka.
Population?
No, cooperation.
Cooperation, okay, sorry.
Sri Lanka is going through an economic crisis and Sri Lankan finance minister is now in India. Is India going to announce something new for Sri Lanka? Any announcement for India? Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else on this? If not, then I... Look, I think you just missed the recent developments in the last few hours, so let me just update you on that. As you know, Sri Lankan Finance Minister, His Excellency Mr. Basil Rajapaksa, is here on a visit. He's on official visit from, I think, the 15th to the 18th. He called on Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi yesterday. You would have seen a press release that was issued after that. He also met External Affairs Minister late last evening. Yesterday, Foreign Secretary had called on him. This morning, Minister Rajapaksa met, I think, with our Power and New and Renewable Energy Minister, Shri R.K. Singh. And later in the day, in fact, in the afternoon, Minister Rajapaksa met Finance Minister Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman as well as EM jointly. There was a signing ceremony which took place about an hour and a half ago of a $1 billion concessional credit facility being extended to Sri Lanka. This will be used for importing food, medicine and other essential items from India. The signing ceremony took place in the presence of all the ministers. And as you are very well aware, in the past, also in the recent past, at the request of Sri Lanka, we have been extending assistance and support to Sri Lanka. If I remember, I think here also from the same forum we had mentioned, there was a 400 million currency swap under the SARC format. RBI deferred, I think it was called Asian Clearing Union, ACU, yeah, Asian Clearing Union facility. There was a 515.2 million settlement facility that has been deferred till May. We have also earlier extended a $500 million line of credit for procurement of fuel from India. In addition, I think we supplied 40,000 metric tons of diesel, etc. So I wanted to emphasize that India has always stood with the people of Sri Lanka, and we will continue to extend all possible support at this juncture. And I think we are cognizant of the economic difficulties that the country is facing, and this is part of that. On a larger aspect, of course, I think both sides understand the benefit of closer economic engagement, and I think Indian investments Sri Lanka has been trying to attract, and hopefully that will also strengthen with various cooperation projects that have moved a bit and are on the anvil, and we are happy to see the renewed momentum in overall economic engagement, overall linkage with Sri Lanka. I think that's where I would leave it at that. माइक्रोफोन।
ये सवाल नहीं है, बस छोटी सी जानकारी चाहिए।
आपका
उमाशंकर सिंह एनटी। अगर चाइनीज विदेश मंत्री आते हैं तो दुशांबे के बाद ये पहला आमने सामने की मुलाकात होगी अपने विदेश मंत्री के साथ।
मैं याद कर रहा हूँ कहीं और मिले थे अभी। हाँ, एक बायलैटरल मीटिंग हुई थी मॉस्को में। नहीं, मैं आपको बताता हूँ एग्जैक्टली, मैं गलत खबर नहीं देना चाहूँगा। काफ़ी दिन से नहीं मुलाकात हुई है, पर बीच में एक मुलाकात हुई थी। मैं याद करने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ कब, पिछले साल आई थिंक हुई थी एक बायलैटरल के मार्जिन्स में। ओके, इफ देयर नो अदर फर्दर, दैट्स अ सेकंड क्वेश्चन फॉर यू। I'll take Sachin there. Third rather for you.
Well, this is Kalul from The Hindu.
Yeah. Sorry, Kalul, I didn't see you.
Yeah, Russia and Ukraine have been holding talks on, sort of resolving the crisis. And one of the issues that has come up is the neutrality of Ukraine, which is now on the table, and both sides are discussing it. So what's India's position on a possible Ukrainian neutrality? Does India support the kind of a scenario when Ukraine could become a neutral country in the lines of, say, Austria, Switzerland, something like that?
You got me. I don't think we pronounced ourselves on such. Look, let me step back. This is all media reports. I am not aware of all the exact details of who's proposing what and what are the contours of any. So let me emphasize how we look at it. As you know, of course, EM made a very detailed and comprehensive statement in both houses of parliament. So let me not go too much beyond that. But you're aware that we have been in touch with all sides, including at the highest levels. Our basic message has been that the need for diplomacy and dialogue, that's the way forward. The exact contours of what kind of an understanding that can be reached, I would leave it to the protagonists involved, rather than comment on our views on what could be and what is on the table, which is, we are not even aware because I've just seen some regular media reports. Okay, I think I should end here. Okay, last question. Oh, sorry, you had raised your hand earlier. Apologies, please.
I'm Takeda from GG Press Japan. I would like to ask on Indian policy on Ukraine related question. And ahead of coming Japanese...
Could you repeat? You wanted about Indian policy on the Ukraine issue?
Yes. Ahead of Japanese Prime Minister's visit to Delhi. As Indian government called cessation of violence and direct dialogue to both sides, countries, include Japan, would require a stronger term.
Maybe you should take off your mask. I can't hear you properly.
Excuse me.
So could you repeat the last part?
The countries, include Japan, would require a stronger term on the issue, like criticizing Russia ahead of Quad summit in Japan this year. And Of course, I have been here 5 years, so I know Indian diplomatic policy.
I know.
Diplomatic policy. But could you?
Yeah, I understand. Look,
tell us
you are very
again?
well known. I just can't hear you. That's why. No, Mr. Takeda, let me mention. I think on the Indian policy in Ukraine, we've been clear and consistent. We've been saying it repeatedly. Our preference. We feel that the only way out is through diplomacy and dialogue. This has been emphasized by Prime Minister in his conversation with President Putin, President Zelensky. This is what we have been emphasizing. At the UN, we've been highlighting the need to respect the UN Charter, the territorial integrity of countries. We have, I think, said this. I think, as I referred to you, the External Affairs Minister's statement in Parliament also emphasized that. So yes, we have been talking about the need for dialogue and diplomacy, not hostilities, clearly. On the Quad related element, look, instead of looking only at the next Quad summit, which I understand Japan has offered to host, let me just refer you to the recent Quad virtual meeting that took place. And as you saw, that where we had a reference to discussions on international issues. Of course, our focus, we feel that the main focus of Quad should continue to be and is continuing on the Indo-Pacific. But of course, topical issues, live issues, as very close partners and friends, naturally they discussed at length developments. And I'll stop there. Sorry. Yeah, Kadamani, please go ahead. Yes. Microphone.
कादम्बिनी शर्मा फ्रॉम एनडीटीवी इंडिया। मैं जानना चाहती हूँ, अभी 2-3 दिन पहले आपने मॉस्को के रास्ते यूक्रेन से 3 और भारतीय नागरिकों को निकाला है। क्या और भी भारतीय नागरिक ऐसे छिटपुट फंसे हुए हैं जिन्हें अभी निकालना बाकी रहता है?
देखिए, हमने जैसे उस दिन कहा था, आपने देखा होगा, हमने काफ़ी ब्रीफिंग्स की थी पिछले हफ्ते या थोड़े पहले। हमने करीब 22,500 से ज़्यादा हमारे देश के नागरिक तो निकाल रहा, पर जैसा हमेशा होता है, कुछ छुटपुट, जैसे आपने कहा, कुछ आइसोलेटेड पॉकेट्स में लोग थे। पर ये एक उभरती हुई सिचुएशन है। हम जो नंबर, कुछ लोग कम हो जाते हैं, कुछ आना नहीं चाहते हैं। हमारी जितनी जो हम कांटेक्ट में हैं इनके साथ, जो बाकी हैं वहाँ पे हर किसी के साथ करीब 50 लोग थे। हमने आज पार्लियामेंट में भी कुछ 50 के बारे में बात की है, पर ये 2-3 दिन पहले की बात है। उसके बाद हमने कुछ और लोग निकल आए हैं। हमारा असेसमेंट तो यही है कि 15 से 20 लोग अभी हैं जो निकलना चाहते हैं। बाकी लोग वहाँ हैं, वो अभी निकलना नहीं चाहते हैं, और जितना संभव हो सके हम उनकी सहायता दे रहे हैं। अब युद्ध का माहौल है, पर जितना हो सके हम करते रहेंगे इनको निकालने की कोई तरीका निकले। जो आपने जिक्र किया रूस के रास्ते जो आए हैं, देखिए, हमारा जो, मैं हमेशा से कह रहा हूँ, हमारा फोकस है उनको किस तरह से निकाल सकते हैं। हम कोई भी रूट ले सकते हैं। ये लोग ऐसी जगह थे जहाँ से उनको क्राइमिया जाना आसान हो रहा था, रशियन कंट्रोल एरिया में थे, तो क्राइमिया होते हुए फिर सिम्फरपोल से वहाँ होते हुए मॉस्को के रास्ते हमारी एम्बेसी ने उनको असिस्ट किया। अगर और भी ऐसे कुछ हैं, हम जानते हैं कुछ और लोग हैं खिरसौन में, पर वो अगर इस रूट को लेना चाहेंगे, और अगर ये रूट ओपन रहा, तो उस समय था, कभी उस समय उन्होंने नहीं निकलना चाहते थे, तो हम कोशिश करते रहेंगे। और अगर वेस्टर्न साइड पे रूट से निकल सकते हैं, वेस्टर्न बॉर्डर से, वो भी है। तो ऑपरेशन गंगा, बहुत लोग कह रहे हैं कि बंद हो गई, ऐसी बात नहीं है। जो भी वहाँ फंसे हुए हैं और जो नागरिक हैं जो निकलना चाहते हैं, हम उनको मदद करे जा रहे हैं। हमारी एम्बेसी के वॉर्सो में पर्टिकुलरली हमारी एम्बेसी जो वहाँ से ऑपरेट कर रही है। ओके, आई थिंक आई विल क्लोज हियर। यू हैव एनीथिंग पर्टिकुलरली डिफरेंट? ओके, बिफोर दैट, यू हैवंट टेकन द फ्लोर, सर? ओके, आई विल क्लोज हियर इन 5 minutes. या, क्विकली। नो, माइक्रोफोन प्लीज।
ऑपरेशन गंगा के तहत और भी विदेशी नागरिक को लाया गया, सर, उस संख्या को एक बार बता सकते हैं फाइनली?
देखिए, ये विदेश मंत्री ने पार्लियामेंट में 147 का नंबर दिया था। मुझे उसके बाद कोई और ज्ञात नंबर नहीं है। या
the new Indian?
Not so loud. Yeah.
Sorry, sir. Really sorry. No, sir, are we opening a mission, a full-fledged mission in Vilnius, the capital of Lithuania?
I'm happy to tell you that as soon as we are in a position to share information on this, I will share with you. Okay. Thank you very much. Good evening.